Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'd like to welcome all the guests tonight to our workshop entitled Interview Tips from the Pros. I'm joined by our two esteemed guests and would like to say a few words about our co-organizers before we begin tonight, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, we have Helping Hand for Relief and Development that has been operating since 2005 and has helped 11 million beneficiaries just last year. Alhamdulillah. I'm proud that close to 130,000 of those beneficiaries were helped by Sacramento community and the surrounding the areas around it. And inshallah, this year, our goal is to help 200,000 people in 2021. Also, one of the programs that we have, flagship programs that we have, is called the SDP, or the Skills Development Program, which helps thousands of widows every single year. Alhamdulillah, they gain skills to help be employed, as well as, just be able to stand up on their own feet. For just $180, you can sponsor a student to learn marketable skills for an entire year. Or if you and your friends want to get together, you could work on a campaign and gain $22,000 to $24,000 or $2,000 a month, which will help a whole cluster, or about 150 to 200 students for an entire year. Also, we have Masjid An-Nur, who's always the amazing programs that are offered to the community. We have two new scholars that have joined recently, Sheikh Ahmed Khatir and Sheikh Najib from Medina. And mashallah, I can attest, and I'm sure Dr. Akhtar and others who've attended either Salat al-Taraweeh or Salat al-Isha or Fajr, it's just amazing. It's really, really beautiful to hear these reciters and the beautiful lectures from Sheikh Ahmed. Also, lastly, we have Ilmscape. This is an organization that I actually started in 2014 with the main intent of connecting people to the Quran, especially youth and families, through hikes, kayaking trips, camping trips, and workshops like these, in order to help our community and benefit our community. You could go to ilmscape.org for more information and see what events are in the horizon. I wanted to start with a couple ayat, actually, from Surah Al-Qasas, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the story of Musa alayhi salam. And after he had escaped, Fir'aun, after he had accidentally killed that man, and he helped, basically, or volunteered his services to help those two sisters. And then he sat by the tree, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala quotes his dua, where he said, Rabbi inni lima anzalta ilayya min khayrin faqir. That Allah, he says, oh my Lord, indeed I am for whatever good you would send down to me, and I'm a faqir, I'm very, very much in need. And when he made this beautiful dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala really hooked him up, right? So he gave him a wife, he gave him a job for 10 years, he gave him shelter. He really just, really helped Musa alayhi salam out in this a time of need. And then a couple ayat after that, it's amazing how a lot of I'm sure the interview, our panelists will share this with you, but it's not just about the interview, but it's actually about the references. And so the daughter of the sheikh, she said, Inna khayra man istajarta al-qawiyyu al-amin. So she said, oh Father, hire him. Indeed, the best of one you can hire is the strong and the trustworthy. And so she kind of made a reference for Musa alayhi salam, and this was able to get him his job and also his wife later on. So without further ado, inshallah, I wanted to start with Dr. Mohammad Akhtar. He works for the state of California's Employment and Development Division as a director of the Labor Market Information Division. Alhamdulillah, I've known him for several years now, mashallah. An amazing asset to the community in Masjid An-Nur and surrounding Sacramento area. He's very, very involved in, as a board member and active in many masajid as well. And I taught his kids when they were younger, mashallah. And Bilal and Muzammil have all grown up now, mashallah, as well as his daughter. So without further ado, inshallah, I'm going to go ahead and give it away to Dr. Mohammad.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. As Brother Wasim mentioned, I am Mohammad Akhtar. I am Chief for Labor Market Information Division in Employment Development Department. And I just got this job last March. Like, I'm at this job for only 3 months. So before this, I have worked at various positions like starting with analyst, specialist, manager 2, manager 3. And I have a lot of experience of sitting on both sides of the table as a candidate and then the interviewers. And so I have a good number of experience, actually number of years experience, and many interviews I conducted, and I just conducted interviews last week for the position I vacated for that position, and that is high level position. And uh, whatever I share today, and it is based on my experience, like personal experience, and also working with so many other people at work and at our community. So our topic is like today about interview tips and specifically behavioral interviews. Uh, so majority of the time, the questions are be asked, and those are behavioral questions. What does it mean? It means that behavior, acts, or conduct of a person. It means it is in the past. They're asking about the past. Yes, sometimes hypothetical situations are told and then asked of how you handle this. But majority of the questions are asked about your past. Why those are asked? Because behavior-based interviews is based on the concept that the best predictor of a candidate's future performance in his or her past performance. Past performance is the best predictor of future success. Therefore, behavioral interview questions are built around specific incidents that have happened rather than hypothetical situation. The interviewer asks the candidate to describe what they have already done rather than what they would do in what if situation. Interview questions require candidates to share examples of specific situations, how dealt with issues in the past, and the past performance, work performance prove what you are capable of doing in the future for this potential employer. So, so overall, the message here is whenever the questions are asked to you, you need to give examples from your past. Whatever you tell them, you need to give examples. How did you do in the past? So let me give you a few examples of questions. There is a very common question which is asked in the beginning of interview or towards the end of interview. That question is, tell us about yourself, or tell us why you think you are the right candidate for this position, or tell us about your education, qualification, work experience, and why you are the best candidate for this job. So it asked in different way, but the main thing is really tell us about yourself, why we should hire you for this job. So how that question can be answered? So I will mention the few things must need to be mentioned. Must, like number one, talk about your qualifications, like whatever degree you have, relevant trainings you have received, relevant courses you have taken. Number two, talk about your past work experience, but always start from the most current job you are holding and then go to the other previous jobs. But talk about, not, you do not need to talk about everything what you have done, but just relevant to the job you are interviewing for. And also tell them about your technical skills. When I say technical skills, usually I'm talking about computer skills, like softwares, like Microsoft Office, like Excel, PowerPoint, Microsoft Word, or if you know any a data analysis tool like SAS, SPSS, R, or any software, mention that one. And then talk about your soft skills. That's most important thing to mention in your interview, like how you get along with others, your punctuality, your responsibility, that you are responsible, you are hardworking, and talk about your communication skills, like written, oral communication skills, and then give couple of examples of your accomplishments. like 1 to 2 examples. So I put a lot of emphasis on the soft skills. Soft skills are very, very important. Like in state jobs, when we hire someone, we look at the both hard skills and soft skills. But when we make the decision that which person we should hire, if the person comes with hard skills, like the person knows all technical knowledge, like 80%, but if the person is on the soft skill side, like person cannot be a team member, cannot work as in team environment, or the person is not a good communicator, then really we do not hire that person. So usually the ratio we keep is like 60-40, like 60% soft skills, 40% hard skills. But again, it varies from position to position. But I am talking about majority of the cases, it happens like that. Like other questions are asked about like your teamwork, uh, like your working experience as a team member or a team lead. Like question, like this kind of question is asked. Give me an example of a time you faced a conflict while working on a team. How did you handle that? So answering of this kind of question, the candidate need to tell what happened, when happened, where happened, and how it was tackled. Like the question which I just read for you, that conflict. If you're working in a team environment and you face a conflict, how you will handle it. Like now, I said when, where, what, and how. So like now I give example. In 2015 at LMID of EDD, like Labor Market Information of Employment Development Department. So now I mention about where I was and when. Now I will tell what I did. I led a team of four staff while working on a long-term unemployment study. And so here I am talking as a team lead now. I say I assigned the task to the team members according to their expertise and skills. 3 members of the team worked very well. They did everything on time, but one of the team member was always late to our meetings, never completed her task on time. So this is the situation. Now I said, now I will tell how I tackle it. So I scheduled a meeting with that staff, one-on-one meeting, and asked the reasons why it is happening, why you are not on time, why you are not completing your work on time. So I found out that person has some childcare issue. And so we talked about various options, that what options we can look into, and then we adopted one option that was like we can bear on her request. I was able to adjust her working schedule and give some flexibility that okay, can come half an hour late and can leave half an hour, can come early and leave late. And also lunch break, there was also issue about lunch break, and I worked also on that. So as soon as we did it, now I will talk about the outcome. What was the outcome? So the person start working, start coming on time to the meetings, really start accomplishing the task which was assigned to her. So and I was very satisfied with that person's performance, and we were able to complete our project on time. So this is the complete answer. But at the same time, now if I am talking about that as a team lead, I need to mention at least few things, that delegating tasks, resolving the issue, and treat everyone fairly. So these are, but if I am giving example as a team member, I should mention that how cooperative I was, how I was getting along with each other. I was positive, punctual, respectful to others, and responsible, task oriented. So these are kind of things, these are the components of working as a team member or a team lead. So these are the few components need to mention in your answer. So, and other questions which are very common questions are asked about customer service. Like describe a time when you had a interact with a difficult client. What was the situation and how did you handle it? So now again, this is from the past, that how did you do in the past? So like I can give example because any example can be given, like working at a Walmart as a cashier in 2018. A customer at checked out got very upset with me, something like that, this example, and then talk about how it was handled. Or other examples I can give, like in December 2020, while working on unemployment insurance branch, I received a call from a claimant. Claimant mean who received the unemployment benefits, was very angry, used foul language that he did not receive his money for last 3 weeks. So I was patient, I was calm, I listened to the customer, and I told the customer, let me check your record. And so while he was talking, and I checked his record, and I found out that we are waiting for one document we asked for almost 6 weeks ago, and that document was not provided. The customer told me, the claimant told me, actually he never received that letter. So I don't know why. So very angry, but I was calm and very confident. And I said, really, if you have the document, if you can fax me right now, and you will be start getting your benefits in next couple of days. So that's what exactly happened. Customer, they had the document, but only I think he maybe missed that letter or something happened, and the person faxed me that paper, and I just entered in the system, and within 2 days, person start getting the money. So this. So now, when we are talking about customer, so we need to mention about few things, very important actually. It depends on the question, how question is asked. Like we need to mention the customers are, we need to show that customers are very important, because no business can exist without customers. And we need to show that we treat our customer with respect, provide them what they need, and when they are angry, we stay calm. If they shout on us, we don't shout them back. And also, sometimes if the situation is out of your control, involve your manager, so that you can give example, okay, that it was going out of my control, I couldn't handle, and I contacted my manager, and my manager took care of that case, something like that. Other questions can be asked about the time management skills. Like, give me an example of a time you managed numerous responsibilities. How did you handle that? So this is very common question actually. So you can say that at my current job, I have number of responsibilities, mention few, and then start telling how you tackle those. Like I make a to-do list before I start my day, prioritize them based on urgency and importance. Sometimes task is important but not urgent. Like task is not to be needed to be complete within next 3 weeks. So I do not need to work on that on task today if I have some other urgent tasks which are not even that much important, but those are urgent. So I will work on the urgent task. Get help from manager in prioritization if needed. Sometimes your manager come and they give you in the morning some task, and they come 2 hours later and they ask you for another one. So now you can talk to your manager that please help me out how I should prioritize, which one I should work first. So, and also mention about that you stay positive and start working from the highest to the lowest priority, and get help from others. And I stay organized and manage my time well. So that kind of thing. So if you are into there are so many other areas, but let me mention quickly about communication skills. Sometimes the question is asked about tell us about a successful presentation you gave and why you think it was hit, it was good presentation. So now you can talk about your presentation, that what was the presentation, what were the contents of that presentation, when did you give that presentation, how did you prepare for that presentation, and then when you gave the presentation, that before even giving the presentation to the real audience, you did the like kind of mock presentation to your family members, your friends, and then I went to the presentation. I told them in the beginning that what I am going to tell them. Then I told them what I was planning to tell them, and at the end, summarize for them that these are the items we discussed today, and then give them the chance for question and answer. The way we will give you at the end question and answer opportunity. So, and other questions can be asked like how you work under pressure. So that's also, and other questions could be, have you ever made a mistake? How did you handle it? That's very important. And then in this kind of question is really always never say that I never made a mistake. Every person makes a mistake, any mistake. Just take an example and give example that I made a mistake, but then say that I take the full responsibility of my mistake and I learn my mistake and I always try my best not to repeat that mistake. Then give example. Like I used to give example long time ago, but now these kind of questions are not asked the level I am right now. Like I made a mistake when I hired a person with based on hard skills, but not on the soft skills. Just I talked in the beginning, and I had very hard time with that person. That person was not team player. That person was not good communicator, and so then I tell them that how did I handle it. I sent the person for a few trainings, and I have follow-up meetings with that person so many times, but really things did not go well, and then I did let that person go, and the person did not pass the her probation, that 1 year probation, and then we let the person go. And other questions are asked about your strengths and weaknesses. So you can uh, look at the request, your strengths which are relevant to the job you are interviewing for, and give the examples. Or sometimes weaknesses ask, you don't need to mention about that I don't know this, I am weak in this. Tell something like this, but then tell them how you are working on that to improve, to become better. Like if you're talking about your communication skill, talk about you are taking classes, you have taken classes, you are getting better, you practice a lot before giving presentation, something like that. So I think still I have time maybe. So okay.
Akhtar, you have 2 minutes if you'd like.
Okay. So if you are interviewing for a manager position, it is must that you need to know about progressive discipline process. Always this question is asked, that how does it work? Preventive phase, the corrective action phase, adverse action phase. That if there is something going on and you want to have challenges about any employee, that how you will take, what process you will follow. That is called progressive discipline process. And let me quickly mention about when you go during the interview, what you need to do. Answer the question as you have the job you are interviewing for. Think like this is the job. I already have this job. So when you're answering the question, answer that way. Do not assume that the interview panel knows any part of the process you are explaining. But do not give so many details that you lose the panel. If panel members are not taking notes and giving you just a smile, then most probably you are not giving the right answer. I didn't know when my first interview, when they were just looking at smiling at me, I thought, oh man, I am giving correct answer. But later on, I found out no. If they are not writing it down, it means I am not on right track. So make sure then if they are giving you smile, you are not on right track. Let them write it down. And don't worry about the eye contact. Just keep giving the answer and provide example and give evidence. And be thorough but concise. Organize your thoughts before speaking, but do not take excessive amount of time. And at the end, when they ask you, do you have any question for us? Never say no. Ask at least one question, because that is showing that how much interest your interest, that how you are interested in this job. So inshallah, I think I will stop here. My time is up, and then I will inshallah I will be able to answer the question if there is any question. I have few more things to say, but inshallah, if there is time left, and I will come to those. Thank you very much.
Jazakumullah khairan, Akhtar bhai. A beautiful, explanation, and really, important tips that you shared with us today. And I really appreciate you taking the time for this. And inshallah, we will come back for a 15-minute question answer session after Dr. Mostafa Abdulla goes. And so just to give a quick introduction, mashallah, Dr. Mostafa Abdulla has over 25 years of industrial and academic experience in business, electronics, and communication engineering while developing world-class products. He led and managed different and diverse engineering teams at Qualcomm, Intel, Numonyx, Micron, and Tessa. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly. Currently, Dr. Abdullah serves as a technologist at Intel, and Dr. Abdullah holds more than 25 U.S. and foreign patents. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him and his family, and thank him. I thank you again for joining us. Let me bring you on.
Okay. Assalamu
alaikum.
So let me start asking question. When you do interview, what is the purpose of the interview from both sides, from interviewee and interviewer? The purpose is to make sure that the company or the employer is testing or seeing that you are fitting the position that you apply for. At the same time, don't forget about that. You also, as an interviewee, you also want to know about the position, the team, the manager, the culture in this company. So make sure you are, aware of who's interviewing you and what is the setup. Are these guys like talking to each other, like, as a team? What is the environment around you? Are they arriving on time? It's the same way. Some people forget about that. At the same time, you have to interview also the company or the employer that interview you. So it's kind of like mutual relationship. You also look at, does this kind of company fit you in your future as a position, or it's not? So this is one of the main point that I want people to be aware of. You also not just trying to answer questions and to be good, look good, so that they can get an offer from this company or this business. But at the same time, you're also trying to interview the company and make sure that the culture and the position, the career potentials and all that fit with your kind of like perspective. So this is one thing. So I want to start like as if I am going to an interview tomorrow. So I'm going to starting with my resume. I make sure that I have a good resume, very precise, fitting the position, and I write everything that as accurate as possible. I don't want to exaggerate on my resume, because don't write anything that you didn't do, because we usually when we interview people, we make sure that we want to make sure that what is in the resume is actually replicate or see exactly what these guys did or what she did or not. So resume is very important as a first step. You have to sleep well the day before the interview. Take your time, wake up early, arrive on time. Make sure you have your appearance like business attire. If you're applying for engineering job, what is the business attire like? What you're gonna wear? You don't have to wear suits, but maybe something like a shirt or something like that. But if you apply for marketing position or customer position, like you're gonna interact with customer, so do your homework and search about the company culture, company management style, organization, business style, business revenue, what they're doing. So make sure that you're aware of all that before going to the interview. Do your homework and study also the company you're looking for. arrive on time, make sure you are have enough time to be calm and confidence. And we always looking for the body language. So when I interview people, the first thing I look at is like eye contact and body language, handshake. And I know this is maybe from Islamic point of view, sometimes it's a point, but sometimes you can do some like Asian kind of salute or something to avoid handshaking, especially for women. But at least eye contact and handshaking is a good posture is like give you confidence, and the interviewer will see that you are confident in this position. This is one point. And also make sure that you prepare. If you have some example of like previous work, like project reports, some like show and tell kind of things, take it with you, so you can show the people that what you did. Like if you have made, like for example, a report or a thesis or a paper or something, take a good copy of it and hand it to this kind of interviewers. Usually in our companies, we used to have like a setup of like 5 interviewers, like all day, like half 45 minutes to 1 hour time. So we have like 5 sessions, including lunchtime. So make sure that also aware of any time when you are in the company for interview, you are under kind of interview kind of process. So when you go for lunch with somebody, make sure also this is part of the interview. When I go with lunch with somebody and I'm interviewing, the way he talks, the way he walks, the way she's talking to me, the way she's like eating and handling stuff, all this stuff matter for the interviewer. So small things like that will be important. I'm not also not only the technical side, but all everything. So what we care about for like from engineering and high-tech companies, we care about more for especially for new hires, like a new graduate, just graduate from school. We know that they don't have much experience as a industry experience, but what we care about more is attitude and potential for the future. If they know the basics and like basic stuff that needed for the job, and I'm going to talk about later, and they have the potential to grow, and they have listening skills and communication skills that will lead to learn more and produce and be productive. That's something we're looking for, not necessarily like experience as like especially if you are just graduate from school. So attitude is very important. When we ask questions in the interview, one thing that we care about is we ask the question and we want to know if the other person understand the question well. So it's like listening skills. Does this person listen carefully to the question, or just, oh, okay, I know, and just fast and jump to like answering the question and without understanding the question well. So this is very important. You have to understand the question, take your time, then respond. Many times when I ask questions in the interview, personally, I don't know the answer. Sometimes I make up some question based on the current situation I have in work. We have a problem right now in design or something in a product, and we have a current problem. And I take this kind of question and ask the interviewee and ask the same question that I don't know the answer. But what I want from this person is I want to see how he or she will go through the thinking process and solving this kind of problem. What is the steps they're gonna go? And they say, oh, I don't know, or maybe freak out, or you jumping quickly to the conclusion, or what is the thinking process? Maybe sometimes they start with drawing some like circuits and start to say some analysis. This is actually what I'm looking for, the way they think about how to solve the problem. So this is one thing that is also important. Usually when we have 5 people interview one person, we divide the area. So usually the manager or the hiring manager will come later at the end of the interview, or maybe in the beginning of the interview. And during the interview, you're going to have like different people interviewing you for different areas. Some people will ask, for example, software. Some people will ask for hardware. Some people will ask for system. So it's a different domain. So each one has its own background and asking certain questions. So this is usually the way we set up the interview. It's like 1 day long interview. Typically, we ask about the basic technical skills. Like, for example, if you are looking for a programming skills, like what language do you know? If I'm going to ask question, how do you write this program? What is the algorithm? Stuff like basic stuff. So this is very important. If you don't know these basic things that required for a job, it's not you're not going to pass. So this is like very basic. Besides the other stuff like the behavior and attitude, but the basic skills like physics, math, and engineering skills, which is relative to the work needed. If this is like new graduate just graduated from school, we're going to ask question to this level. But if it's an experienced position, like 10-year experience or 15-year experience position, we're going to ask the same level of the questions. So this should be the basic. You have to be calm. You have to respond. If you don't know exactly the answer, you need to show the person, the interviewer, how do you come up with this kind of answer? Even if you don't know yet the answer, you have to go through this kind of thinking process. One thing is also sometimes I intentionally interrupt when somebody like ask question and he start to respond, and intentionally I interrupt this person and I want to see how he or she will respond. So you have to be kind of like, if somebody interrupt you or aggressively interrupt you, you have to be calm, and we want to see the reaction. If you are in a very kind of like hot discussion with a big team, how are you going to react to the meeting questions? Some people like asking you, how are we going to react to that? This is very important also. We're going to ask about teamwork, because when you are going to work, you're going to work on a team. So some of the questions will address teamwork, and like we're going to test that. Also, I would like to see if you're going to asking question and see if the other person disagree with me. Sometimes when he answering and say, I disagree with you on that. So I'm going to see what is his or her response on this. So if somebody disagree with you, what is your reaction? How are you going to respond to that? So this is very important. And all that stuff is it's behavior, but in the same time mushed or within the technical questions we ask. I want also to understand that in your resume, try to list all the projects and real examples in your real life. For example, if you fix some computers at home, or if you have a hand-on experience on fixing cars, stuff like that. For engineering position, this is also important, that to show that you have a wide background of you have a hands-on experience. You can do stuff by yourself. You can go to the lab, make measurements, stuff like that. So pretty much that's what I have for me. So maybe Brother Wasim can take over from this.
Jazakumullah khairan, Brother Dr. Mostafa. I really appreciate your time. We have some really great questions coming in, and I really appreciate how you, it's kind of bringing some bad memories back to me when I interviewed for Ford and some other companies in Michigan, where, all day types of interviews, and it was very, very tough and, grueling. So, inshallah, what I'd like to do is, Dr. Akhtar, if you're there, okay, I'll bring you on. Okay, great. What I'll do is I'll bring one question for Dr. Akhtar, and then I'll switch to Dr. Mostafa, and we'll go back and forth. So, Dr. Akhtar, the question I have for you is, why is it important to ask questions at the end of the interview, and what types of questions, or maybe if you have some samples, that would be good to ask.
I was muted. Okay. So, yes. it is very, very important to ask the question as soon as you're given the opportunity, because if you say no, really the interviewer sitting on the other side think, oh, this person really just want to run away, not interested anymore in the job and not interested or some. So interest is the main thing. And what kind of questions can be asked? Let me, I can give a couple of examples. You can ask like, what are the opportunities for someone entering this position? What kind of orientation and training is available to new employees? What are your expectation of the person in this position? Or something like that. Does the organization have a process for sharing creative ideas? Like, if I have a lot of creative ideas, do give us the opportunity to share those ideas. And what is the first challenge or most challenging aspect of this job? So something like that. So these kind of questions, there are so, it varies from position to position. Like now, at the level I am, we ask very different type of questions. But these are the common questions really which can be asked to any employer. Thank you, Wasim.
Okay. The second question for Dr. Mustafa. So, what does it mean when you are rejected after a second interview? So, your resume was reviewed. You called into the first interview, went great. Second interview, you think everything went well, and then for whatever reason, you're not called back again, or you were rejected.
Okay. One of those kind of like the reason for that is maybe this is a very important thing. So if you have a chance, if a person that had an interview and didn't get the positive response, it will be good if you can follow up with email or phone call to see and ask for feedback, honest feedback. That's very important. Most of the people will not give you 100% honest feedback, but you can sense, like somebody can say, "Oh, we have many interviewer and interviewees, and we pick one over three." And some people say, "Oh, we didn't have a budget; they canceled the job." So this is sometimes they're not going to give you, most of the time, we're not give you the 100% accurate response, but by following up and ask for feedback about why you've been maybe not picked up, you will sense it and you will see that, and this is going to be good feedback for you. And most of the time, you will know what is a problem. Yeah, like most of the time when I go to interview, and at the end of interview, like 99%, I know I did good in this interview or not. So, but if you don't know exactly what is the problem, you have to ask and get a feedback. That's maybe will be a good feedback for you in the future. But we don't know yet. It depends. Sometimes many circumstances that is not related to you or the person that sometimes they have many interviewees. Sometimes they cancel like in the requisition. Sometimes they have a budget problems. Many don't assume anything, unless you get some feedback.
For Dr. Akhtar, we have this question: how to strike a balance between being genuine and true to oneself, and giving the hiring managers what they need or what they want to hear.
Actually, interviewers sitting on the other side, really, they know everything. When you are answering the questions, they know that if if you're making up something or it is real, they know. So my advice is always, like, let's say the question is asked and you do not have any example from your previous work, uh, and then tell them very clearly and openly that I have not faced any situation like this in the past, but I would, but I, if I do, if I face this challenge, if I face this issue, then I know how to handle it. Then start telling them the steps that I will do the following: step number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the thing is, never ever try to lie. If there is something, you can give example from any of your experience, like working as a volunteer work, from your like working in if you are a student and working in college or university or a school, but never ever make, like let's say, I can give you example. The person came for interview to us, and he started giving us a just like Dr. Mostafa mentioned about a report, a project, that if you have accomplished any project, and bring and show to the interviewers. So that's what exactly happened. That person came and he brought. There are two examples, but this one actually, this person I'm giving example, he talked so much about one project that he did this, he did that, but in reality, the person he works for is my friend. I know he is my friend. I know everything actually. So we could tell right there that person is lying. So really, my suggestion is never ever try to tell a lie. If you do not have example, tell them I do not have, but then tell them you know how to do it. Yeah, this is what I. But Dr. Mustafa maybe can add to it.
Yeah, I think it's my when I go to the interview, my main focus is to make sure that the person in front of me is genuine, and whatever he wrote in or she wrote in the resume is exactly reflect what she did or he did. So don't try to don't try to overcome that. It will show up. So if you try to please the interviewer just by saying anything to make sure that you're gonna get the job, my advice to you, don't go this job. You have to be genuine and show the potential. If you don't know exactly how to do stuff, show the potential and skills that you will learn to do these things. So the anxious, the enthusiast and the ambitious and the energy that you want to learn stuff. This is what we call attitude and potential. But don't try to fake it. If you try to fake it, it will show up.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing, but I think I missed that when Dr. Mustafa said bring the report with you. My advice here is based on my experience: never ever give them the copy if it is in draft format. If it is not final, never ever. Yes, you can talk about that you worked on this, but never ever give them the copy. Actually, it happened with us. Interview, the excellent interview. There was we had no doubt actually that we will not hire this person. But towards the end, actually, he showed us the one report during the interview. But towards the end, my boss, he was leading those interviews. He said, "Mr. Whatever the name was, yeah, take this report with you." He said, "No, no, no, you can keep it." And my boss, we were looking at that. We said, "No, it is the draft copy." He said, "No, it's okay." And my boss really decided right there, no, we are not going to hire this person, because if he is, so this is the thing really, make sure whatever you are sharing is you are allowed to share. That if we could if my boss or myself go to his department, tell their department that this is what happened, then he may get in more trouble actually. So thank you.
Yeah, I want to add something here. When I talk about the interview, I was targeting new graduate from school, like new hired, like without experience. But this is very important point. If you are experienced person and you work for different companies, when you do interview, make sure you follow and follow the IP and legal and confidentiality. Don't say stuff that you're working on like a current employer, and if you know that it's not allow you to share, because once you talk to somebody about it in the interview, it's a public information. It could be a problem for you, a legal problem for you in the future. So when I do interview right now with my current employer and I go for interview for another company, I don't share the details of what I'm doing right now, because this is illegal stuff, and make sure that this is happening.
We have a question over here. Assalamu alaikum. What are some examples or references that new high school or college graduates could give if they wish to join the workforce. So someone who doesn't really have that much references or background, especially
Yeah.
high school students, I think that's a challenge.
Yeah. So I can take first, and then Dr. Mustafa can add to it. So if that is the case, let's say the person graduated from high school or from the college, we never ever ask as an interviewer that gave us the example from your work, we ask the example. Doesn't matter you gave example from your high school, from your college. In college and school, you are working as a team, on various projects. So give example that you work, let's say if a teamwork question, and then tell that yes, in my college we worked on this project as a team, and I was a team member, and we did this and that. And then if communication question, yes, the same thing, that how did we communicate when we work as a team on various projects. Or like I can give you example, like I was interviewed and there was a very important question, and that question was for that position I was going for, budget related question, and I had no experience, like work experience from my work, budget, that how to handle budget. But I gave them one example that after they hired me, my boss told me that you really impressed us giving that example. I gave example that I was finance director for Masjid Noor for 4 years, from this time to this time, and I worked from A to Z. I collecting funds, allocating funds, working on the expense report, monthly, quarterly, annual report, presenting to our community in the town hall meeting, getting their feedback. So all this, and I know cookbooks, and I know how to all this. So they were very much impressed. So any example can be given. If you have worked voluntarily somewhere, like in the masjid, in the community, in school project, so any example can be given for this kind of questions.
I also want to add something. Also, the type of questions will be based on your experience. If you are a high school student, when I ask you about experience or examples, I'm not going to ask you about like working for Intel or something. I'm going to ask you maybe did you help your mom cook or something? Did you fix your car? Did you fix the computer? How do you do like did you print out some of like presentation on a computer? How do you do this kind of like project with your your friend and stuff like that? Stuff like that related to whatever you do. So it should be related to your level of expertise, but you have to show the attitude that you can do stuff and you're willing to learn things. You're listening. You're not like a stubborn person, or you listen, you learn, and you have a potential.
A question also that just came up. It said, "Is it worth mentioning?" I believe you touched on this, but is it worth mentioning volunteer experience, or do interviewers mostly pay attention to paid work experience, or is it a balance of both?
Go, Dr. Mustafa.
Yeah, for sure, yes, you have to show your volunteering kind of experience. For example, if you are like volunteering in a masjid or in a club, or go to hospitals, and or you go to like a soccer practice and volunteer as a coach, or volunteer as a referee or something, this is show that you are an active person and you helping people, and this is actually the good attitude. So yes, show all this kind of expertise, even if it's not like paid kind of experience. It's actually it's actually will tell the interviewer that your personality, what is your personality. So you're trying to sell yourself and show the people that what are you as a person, what is your values.
Yeah, just like I gave example earlier, like as a working as a finance director, it covers not only budget, everything, my communication skills, my teamwork, my working under pressure, like giving the presentation in the town hall meeting, lot of pressure from the community. Sometimes community members, they ask very difficult questions. So all this, so it covered everything. So yes, any example can be given. and also when you are working on the exam questions, like if you apply for state job, you have to take the exam first. Same thing. If they ask a question about like how many number of presentation you given over like last 2 years, it doesn't need to be the presentation should be at work. It could be any presentation to your friends, to your community, whatever. Yes, any example can be given.
A
Thank you.
question I'm thinking about is it possible to be overqualified for a position? And have you guys ever experienced something like that?
Yeah, 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 and that's true actually, and this is a drawback or a problem. So one advice for you, if you have to do some work that's over, you are overqualified, make sure that you have the right resume, that you write in the resume that sorry, write in resume. Don't write all your qualification in the resume. When you apply for this job and you have, for example, certain type, like, you want to apply just to work for 2 months or something and you are overqualified to find a job, don't put all your qualification in the resume, because once I see a resume with overqualified person, I'm not going to hire him or her, because most probably they will quit after a certain time, right? So this is one advice. You write the qualification for the job in the resume, and be prepared that somebody will ask you about your qualification and why you are going to accept this kind of like lower level kind of use qualification. Make sure that you be honest and direct with this kind of question, because they're going to be asking that question.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
I agree. Yeah.
we have a question over here. Assalamu alaikum. How can you salvage an interview that you may feel isn't going so well?
Sometimes it is too late.
Damage control.
It's too late.
It depends actually. So one thing really, as I mentioned while I was talking, that if you see during the interview, I'm talking about like when you go for state interviews, state jobs, and other jobs too. But if they are giving you smile in the beginning and not writing it down anything, it means really you're not on right track. So you need to work right there. That okay, I need to be careful. I need to be focused. So just if you can try your best at that time to think really, no, maybe I need to divert. I need to give different way the answer. So something like that. But sometimes it is too late. But really, never too late. Try your best. As we know, we trust in Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. We try our camel. We try our best, and results on it in Allah's hand. So.
Yeah, I want to add something here. Sometimes the situation or maybe the circumstances is going to benefit you or in your position. So sometimes, for example, you have 3 people apply for the job and you are the last one, like from the ranking, like number 3, and maybe you feel like you didn't do well in your interview, but you have to follow up with interview saying, "Oh, really?" by email or something. "I'm really interested in this position." I follow up with email or phone call, and maybe the first 2 or something, the one and second guy who is above you in the rank of the interview, maybe they gonna give another offer, or maybe something happened. So you never know what's gonna happen. So be hopeful and wishing for the good for at least the last minute.
I know that you guys, both of you alluded to, like Dr. Mostafa, you work for Intel, and Dr. Akhtar, you work for the state of California. Could you both explain, for our viewers, the interview process itself? I know, Dr. Mostafa, you mentioned that some interviews actually are entire day, maybe 7 to 8 hours. And I've had experience with, state interviews. Usually they're 30 to 45 minutes, maybe an hour at most. So if both of you could touch on that, inshallah.
Yeah, at state jobs, exactly what you just mentioned, it is true, because you worked for state for a while. And so, yes, it is like 45 minutes, 30 minutes to 1 hour, maximum 1 hour interview. And sometimes what we do, we give the questions in advance to the candidates, like 20 minutes in advance. They can review it and write down their answers. And when they come to answer the question, that they can just go one by one. We read the questions for them. So there is a panel of three. Most of the time, it is panel of three interviewers, and they take turn to ask the questions. But never think that who is asked, the person who is asking the question, that person put that question together. No, question is usually put by the lead, who is leading that interview. So, but they take turn, and 1 hour interview. After the interview, Dr. Mostafa said, if you can write them a letter, the email, that's good. It helps sometimes, really, but sometimes it is too late. But never think like it is too late. As I mentioned earlier, try your best.
So I'm going to add, because we don't have time, but for Intel and big companies, like usually, technical, very technical, deep technical reviews, we usually have a 1 day, full day interview. Usually you arrive, even coming from, other cities or something, you arrive at night, and the interview starts like 8 o'clock in the morning till maybe 3 or 4 p.m. The setup is something like you start with your day meeting with HR representative. The HR will take you and maybe give you like the agenda and who's going to meet with you, the people. Usually we send that also before the interview in an email, so that when you come to the interview, you know exactly who you're going to meet and from when to when, right? And usually includes lunch with either with one person or maybe a group. But during that, you have about 45 to 1 hour session with each individual, and you have maybe about 5 interviewers. Typically, the hire manager or the director or the organization leader at the end. So and technical leads will interview you in the technical areas, like as I said before. Like, for example, if you apply for hardware job, the people will ask you about hardware. Somebody will ask you about software. Somebody will ask you about systems. Somebody will ask you about lab stuff. So we divide this kind of questions. We say each one will go and ask about this area, and at the end of the day or next day, we sit together and give some kind of score. Behavior and technical. Each one of us will give a score, and we say take like a committee and decide hire or no hire, right? And based on that, we discuss pros and cons, and we ask about family, we ask about relocation, we consider visa, we consider all this kind of stuff in the decision, not necessarily like just technical. We consider it as a package, right? Is a potential this guy will stay for 10 years or gonna get a job now and leave tomorrow. So this is all this kind of stuff we consider, and based on that, it's up to the hire manager to decide to go or no go. Once it's done, you go to the HR and tell the HR go or no.
Okay, sure.
Only one thing to add on state side. Sometimes we do go for second interview, and the second interview is mostly about the senior manager. And that second interview is done only if really, because if the score is pretty close for a couple of candidates, or sometimes really the senior manager want to see what kind of persons we are bringing to the organization.
Okay. Well, Jazakumullah khairan to all both of our panelists. Very informational, lots of really great tips. And I thank you to all the people who are viewing as well. I hope it was inshallah beneficial. We hope to continue more sessions like these to add value to our community and help our youngsters and youth land the job of their dreams, inshallah, and and make a more productive Muslim society as well. With that, inshallah, I'd like to conclude with a dua. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. جزاكم الله خيرا again. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
جزاكم الله خير.